attention, please. I'd like to call the government office meeting to order. First order of business is I need a motion to accept the minutes as mailed. Got a motion? Lester, second. Matt? Any omissions, corrections? All in favor? Carried. Opposed? Carried. Next order of business is department request. Laura, you're up.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, I would like to, I have a opening in my office. I'd like to backfill an account clerk position. I'm
Okay.
leaving our office.
Move it. Moved by Matt. Do I have a second? Second by Lester. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Carried. Anything else you need, Laura?
Yes, there is. I would also like to, they're both gonna come before personnel a little bit later, is to request to extend the hours for my account clerk and clerk position from a 35-hour position to a 40-hour position. What we've had here more recently than in the past is for the last 5 or 6 years in our office, we've had temporary people that have come up from social services, and we've done some job like on-site training for them to go into the workforce, doing what we thought was menial tasks of copying papers, scanning, getting documents together to go to the assessors, and just doing some on and end tasks around our office. The last girl that we had here was here for a year, and then COVID hit, and now we're not going to have her come back just because, you know, we just don't have space for her. But in that, we didn't realize how much she actually did for our office. So she had done a lot for our clerk that sits out front as far as getting paperwork together and just doing some of them the small tasks. So without that free help that we've had for the last few years, the increase in over 225 to 230 transfers per month and the additional phone calls coming into our office, there's a lot going on out front, and the two girls out there are just busy. We're open by appointment only, as you all know. We have a lot of phone calls coming in because a lot of people that would normally be in the building or over at the courts or just stopping by from county clerks now are calling our office for the information that they're looking for. We do have a lot of information online, but there is a lot of increased work out front for my two clerical people. So I would like to increase both of those positions. I have increased my fees, which we approved at the last board meeting. And I did a little recap, and the increase in the revenue, if I compared it to 2019, would be a little over $15,000. That would cover, I believe, what the increase in the salary or the change in the salary would be for those positions. But we do have that work out there. There is enough to keep them busy and more if I switch both of those to 40 hours a week. And I know it's going to be discussed in personnel, so it can wait till then if you want to discuss it then, but I just wanted to give you folks some information out there as to what we had going on in our office. We are gearing up for town and county tax bills. We'll be starting that process probably second week of December, depending on, re-levies and rollovers. And when we receive all that information, we are doing the preliminary work right now for that process. And this year we're going to be starting with W and working back to A. So I don't see Mr. Roselle on here, but his town clerk collector will be very happy that she'll be the first one completed, hopefully.
So I guess
Mr. Griffith, yeah.
Normally, we like to address these things during the budget season, and the budget's just been passed. So,
yep.
I mean, I'd like to have everyone weigh on it. Government should weigh on their thoughts before it goes to personnel and what they think about it as the oversight committee. Any thoughts or comments on this? Matt?
I'm a little reluctant. I mean, I think we only moved a couple other positions, but one was at code enforcement because they were just overwhelmed, and we moved them to 40 hours. And I think the other one was DSS, of course, of the extra 5 hours a week, we only pay an hour and a quarter, because it's covered by, state money. Is there an opportunity for somebody else from DSS to come up and, like before, that come in the future to do that copying and all that extra work, clerical?
The person,
Go ahead, Laura.
where the person more or less was stationed, was right inside of our door. And these are, regular, everyday people. These are recipients of grants or whatever they're receiving through DSS to help pay for their help pay for a grant or something like that. They weren't employees of Washington County. There wasn't.
So if we get another one of those, would that solve part of the issue?
I don't think we're bringing those people in, Matt, because of the
No.
COVID. And right, well, but then when the pandemic's done, once we change it, it's kind of hard to go back.
Correct.
I guess I sort of wish it'd come up to the budget, because then it would have been an easier decision to look at and see where it worked in, but we'll go from here. So is it still going to be brought up in personnel matter?
The backfill will, because that's the, right, that's the move. The backfill will be.
Okay. Not the request to go from 35 to 40.
Depends on what comes from here.
I'm looking to the committee for what their thoughts about whether they want to move the personnel for further vetting or discussion, or what you'd like to do from here. My concern, it didn't come up during budget season. We passed our budget. I know she can find some extra money to do that, but that's a little different situation.
Yeah, I have to agree that.
Dave, vetting is always a good thing. I think in the past, we haven't vetted things, and that's been a problem. And there'd be nothing wrong with vetting this more, whether it be in this committee or in personnel. Everything should be at the table and be looked at. I don't necessarily want to increase personnel. We didn't in the budget on purpose because of the situation we're in and the unknown. So I'm not big on increasing personnel right at the moment. There's some places where we had to last year, like code enforcement with Cambridge coming on board and certain things like that. But, I just don't know where we're at right here. Everything seems to be getting done unless Laura knows things aren't getting done. And that's why you vet it, to get all those things cleared out. So if you want to, vet it in personnel and go further, that's fine. But yeah, the board needs to be included more and more. I think we found that out at Friday's meeting.
The tasks in our office are being completed, but we comp time a little bit. We worked throughout some of the, all of my employees had computers at home working throughout when everybody was at home during COVID time. So we've worked through the whole process. We've worked, not since day one, I can't say that. But my office has worked throughout the whole COVID crisis at home with laptops that they were using, like most other departments were. I just don't want to get behind the 8 ball because of the increasing number of transfers and things that are coming through now that, it seems to be adding more and more to our workload that we didn't realize the other person that we had here was picking up, the additional tasks on. So.
When was that person gone? When did they leave?
When COVID hit. She had been here for close to a year.
Since March, right?
Yes. Yep.
And it seems like you're keeping up with your workload at this point.
At this point, yes, we are.
So one approach to this was you were.
Well, it's getting harder, with some new employees for me, for training time, for me to train them to do new things and work on additional projects and things, different projects that come down through the pipeline and stuff like that. Training and just additional work with the transfers. If the transfers continue to go over 200 a month, we're not going to be able to, she's not going to be able to keep up out there with those. Last 2 months have been 225 to 230. This is, things are ramping up more and more. We're seeing more, and this month will be just as many, if not more, based on the number of transfers received to date. So I just see a progression of more and more of that type of work coming through our office to complete.
Dana Hogan? Dana Hogan, you're muted. Much better.
Laura, is this a temporary increase or is this something you see as long-term?
It's something I would see as long term, as long as, the need is there. I mean, it seems like our transfers are increasing more and more. And if you want to look at it as a position, I don't currently have an account clerk. If you don't want to do the 35 to 40 for that account clerk, I can look at it come budget time next month next year, for the account clerk position, and we can review it at that time. But the current clerk that I have out there that's been here working on these, it's just, and we haven't even we didn't have a tax sale this year. So we didn't even have all those other deeds coming through, which, was additional 30 to 30 plus a month that didn't come through. So it's all based on the economy and the sales of property, and, the workload is for that person out there.
So would an approach be from here is that if you look at, you still could, if you bring additional revenue as potential to get the work done, you can do the 5-hour overtime if you have the budget to do it, to cover that up, and then we reevaluate 35 to 40 as either next year's budget, or if we see the increase all the time and the need to get the work done, reevaluate it come, 3 or 4 months from now.
Correct. I can do that.
Is everyone amenable to that? Okay. Thanks, Laura. Anything else, Laura?
Nope, that's all I have. Thank you.
Do we pass a motion to move the backfill to finance, or to a personnel?
Yeah.
We should move the backfill.
Yeah.
The backfill was moved, or approved.
Approved, okay, just want to double check that.
Yeah, I don't go to.
For the last time, Dana Half.
Debbie, can you clarify the very first motion that Laura requested, which was the backfill? To me, it sounded like the backfill was approved by this committee. I didn't hear where it was said to send it to personnel.
It was going to personnel, yes.
Yeah, it would automatically go.
Automatically goes to personnel.
Oh, so you don't have to say that, it automatically goes?
Yeah.
Automatically goes to personnel.
Thank you.
Okay. Leslie, for the last time, we've appreciated all you've done in the past years you've been here. But I would like to get you to give a analysis of what the election looked like, how it worked out, and how we were able to work through that and be successful in getting done. I hope you're done by now.
One's for yes, twice for no.
Leslie?
Sounds like she's done, Dave.
Okay.
Hello, Melissa. Okay.
Leslie? Jeff?
Bueller?
Okay, well, let's. Dana?
I would like to make contact with either Jeff or Leslie sometime during this meeting, because I have a question is, our voting machines, who are they manufactured by and who's the software maintained by? What corporation?
Okay, well,
I know they're Canadian. I asked her yesterday. They're not Venezuelan. They're definitely Canadian. So.
yeah.
But what is the name of the corporation?
No, I didn't ask her that. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll get her. Can someone dial over there and see if they're alive? While we're waiting for that,
Oh my God.
Stephanie wanted. Hello? Stephanie? Stephanie Lemery, you want to give us an update on DMB and what the operations are down there as we try to get hold of Leslie?
Good morning, all.
Good morning, Stephanie.
So Dave asked me to come on and speak about how DMV and county clerks are doing, for the year. Unfortunately, I'm afraid to say we are down in both offices. County clerk isn't too bad. We are down, $6,388 from where we were at the end of October last year. Unfortunately, DMV, we are down $218,000.
Are we making any progress as you move along through the year? Are you making any progress in making up some of that gap, Stephanie?
We are, what killed us was April and May, where we would normally, those were like our hot months. The last couple years, we did between $53,000 and $66,000 a month. This year, we did between $4,000 and $7,000. Our numbers are increasing. We're in the 40,000s, but we're still down from the low to mid 50s that we are normally at. Unfortunately, well, I guess you can look at it both ways. Unfortunately and fortunately, our numbers from DMV from the state are up, but that just means less revenue percentage that we're getting. Right now, we are up $3,000 from what we had last year. Unfortunately, we only get the 2.4% of that as opposed to the 12.7 that we would normally get in-house. We're getting the people in, we're filling the appointments. We just opened some more appointments in our morning slots because we've still been getting the no-show appointments. Today was our first day with the full new appointments open, and we only had 2 no-shows. So far, it's helping. The changes that they're making down in Albany, they're allowing them to do more things online now. So that's going to kind of be a struggle that we're going to hit. Because now you can renew your driver's license online because they've extended your eye test for up to a year. So there's different avenues that we are looking at to try to change or increase getting the people in here, but with the guidelines, we still have to be careful and make sure it's safe. They did, for our phone issues that we still have, Albany has provided an 800 number now that will just answer the questions. Majority of them would be questions that we're getting in here, so hopefully we went on the list yesterday. It just went live yesterday. Hopefully that alleviates some of our phone issues here at the county going into DMV. I know many of our surrounding counties weren't answering their phones at all, which is one of the problems we had. But now they have a central 800 number to get these questions answered. We haven't called it yet. That is on my list of things to do today. I just have not gotten to that yet. So that's where we stand at DMV. The county clerk, even though we are by appointment only, we have, to date, we have, with them being able to go online and get copies as opposed to making the appointments and get copies here, we have actually had an increase of $8,000 from last year. So that would offset the stuff coming in over the counter with that $6,000 lull that we've had. With what Laura said, the sales have increased, so we are, you know, still staying pretty busy. The interest rates, from my understanding, are starting to creep up a little bit, not much. So that will also play a factor in how the sales continue to go in the county.
We were talking one time, the software vendor we use for appointments is gonna make a change so that it would notify people, remind people a day before, 2 days before. Were they able to implement that?
Unfortunately, the day they tried to download that, or upload that change was the same time that we had the daylight savings issue, and they are across all timelines, so up drastically. But we just got notification this morning that it will be all ready for when we come in on Friday morning, all the upgrades. And the first phone calls will be going out Saturday for our Monday appointments.
Okay, good.
With that programming, we will be able to monitor who has confirmed their appointments, because it will give them a link to confirm their appointment. So we will actually be able to see who has confirmed from the notice that they received.
Good. Any other questions for Stephanie? Dana have? Dana?
He's still muted.
Stephanie, when you call the 800 number, do you speak to a human that can answer questions, or is it automated?
They tell me it's supposed to be a human.
Can you tell us what that 800 number is?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds.
Because I think the number that people call for DMV to make an appointment or a question is probably all the same phone number, so people have a hard time getting through. Is that true?
Stephanie, does this 800 number go to the state, not to here?
I think it does.
The appointment
Okay.
number.
It's 1-800-698-2931.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Stephanie? Okay, thank you, Stephanie.
Dave, when you spoke to me before, you had asked me also, I just want to ask, does anybody have any questions? You and I had discussed that there were still some question about how mortgage tax is paid out. Is that still something we need to discuss?
Yes, there was a question on mortgage tax. We wanted to understand how it worked. I think with the change, it confused some people, so it might help them understand the mortgage tax, what percentage we take, how it flows, and so.
Okay.
Go ahead and explain.
So our mortgage tax is separated into 4 different checks that go up to the treasurer, or 3 that go to the treasurer's office, 1 that goes to the state. So it's 50%, 25, 25, and 25. The only one that actually shows 25% is possibly the new local tax. What happens is when you take out a mortgage, if it is a residential property, they give discounts for a 1 to 2 family, and they give discounts if it's a credit union. That is why when you look at it, they are not always 50, 25, 25, and 25. That's why there's a difference. The credit unions get a difference that goes to the state, and the residents get a difference that goes to the treasurer's office. That's the easiest way to explain it. For each mortgage that a resident gets, they get a $25 break. So every mortgage that comes in, there's automatically $25 deduction that is not considered on the county portion.
Albert?
Stephanie, one of the questions was about the fees that you retain off of the gross before the distribution. Can you talk about that?
The $8,125, Al?
Yeah, there's like 20 some odd $1,000 that came off in admin fees off of the gross. And that's money that you retain for clerk fees on your end, correct?
Correct. The state, through one of their laws, and I don't have it handy right here, allows us to submit what we receive for mortgages a year to the state, and they will allow us to increase a portion, which we went from $125 to $8,125. And they base it on a higher portion of the percentage that we get based on the amount of time that they feel that we spend in my office processing the mortgages that come into the county. Out of that $8,125, it was agreed when I was allowed to change that from the 125, that the towns wanted to stay whole, as they said, to what they would have got prior to that additional $8,000 that comes out to that check. So that's where it differentiates. I have to actually go in and figure out the percentage for the numbers to make that so your money that's going back to the towns is still what it would have been prior to the $8,000.
Yeah.
So is our mortgage tax 1.25%?
Yes,
And
that was approved by,
What half of 1% goes where?
the half goes up. Al, am I correct that goes into the,
It's used to offset the cost of ACC.
It goes to the county? Okay, who gets the 0.75% price?
the state, the towns, and ACC?
Thank you.
Okay.
And the county gets a little bit of that.
Stephanie, in your opening statement, you were talking about the shortfall in DMV, which was, you said up to 220,000.
Yes.
And I know you were asked if any of that's going to be made up, and you said things are getting better. But then you also commented that there's still a shortfall every month in DMV. So I didn't want to misunderstand what you're saying. That 220,000, we're not going to make any of that up, and in fact, it might even be more by the end of the year. That's what I thought you said, but I wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yes, it is possible that it will, it could be more than that. Because right now we are not, as for an example, in October, in 2019, the check that went up to, the check from DMV was $55,000. This year's check, or this month's, October's check for this year is $42,000. Oh, there is going to be a shortfall.
But I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying. So my question is now to Al. Al, when you made your prediction about the use of fund balance, that range of what, $500,000 to $1 million, were you aware of this information at the time, or could it be worse than the $500,000 to $1 million, or did you factor it all in?
That was factored in when I reviewed the numbers at budget time, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Stephanie? Thank you for your time, Stephanie.
Thank you. Everybody stay safe.
Have a nice Thanksgiving. Leslie,
You too.
Are you on?
We're here. Jeff is right next to me. We are on voice and not picture, I guess.
Okay.
He's going to talk about the election. I'm going to talk about grants.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Jeff.
All right. We're starting to talk about our early voting. That 9-day span, it went very well. We had a great turnout. We ended up with 5,158 people took advantage of our early voting. In-person voting on election day, we had 17,801 people went to the polls and voted on election day. As far as absentee ballots, through the county, we issued 5,146 absentees. In turnaround, we received back 4,339 absentees. And then for a total for turnout, we had 27,400, 470 something voters that ended up voting on, total for the general election for this 2020 election. So we had a very good turnout this election cycle.
Sounds it. How many registered voters do we have in Washington County?
37,000.
So about 66% turnout.
No, I was like 73, 74%.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think we got a couple thousand inactive, but 37,000 active.
Okay. Good. Jim?
Hey, Jeff, that was a 84% return rate on the absentee ballots. Is that pretty consistent with years past?
No, it's high. It's a real good turnout. It's higher than usual.
The state said something about voter turnout for absentees, and they said if you got 50% back, you were doing well.
So we did.
That's what the state sees overall, and we had 84% or 84%.
Okay. Thank you.
One question before I forget. Who's our hardware vendor for the voting machines?
Dominion.
Dominion?
And Dominion. Toronto, Canada.
And the software is made by Dominion, or is that another vendor?
Well, I think Dominion, but it's got to go through, anything that's done has to be certified through New York State
Board of Elections.
So it can't, anything, anytime anything's downloaded or upgrades, we can't do anything until it has to be passed and go through the New York State Board of Elections first.
Dave, does that actually answer your question?
I was afraid that was the answer. Jeff, 84% turnout absentee, that high percentage, does that trigger any questions, suspicions?
No.
All the signatures were verified?
Yep.
In hindsight, since you received 4,339 absentees, did you require the high-speed voting machine that you purchased?
We used it.
Yes, the clear ballot, yeah.
You used it, but do you think you really had to have it? I'm not blaming you. I'm just looking in hindsight.
We'd still be counting.
Yeah, we'd be counting all through. We wouldn't even be through our absentees at this point.
Okay.
It'd take us over a whole week. We'd be into 2 weeks counting absentee ballots.
Hey, Dave.
Jim, yes.
What's the traditional number of ballots absentee that you guys would be able to count in a day, typically?
Oh, it took us 35 hours to do 2,000.
Okay.
Because we did that in June.
It usually, if we were to scan them through our Dominion like we do now, it takes, to do 250 ballots, it takes like 2.5 hours.
But that's just scanning. That's not opening, you know, everything else that goes with
And
that.
that's just to get 250 ballots scanned.
Okay.
So,
Day and a half?
Jeff and Leslie, have you had time to look at this 84% turnout to see if statistically it was a much higher percentage for one candidate or another? I mean, lots of times absentee follows the general trend. Have you analyzed to see if this 84% followed the general trend, or was it
No,
skewed very high for one candidate or another?
no.
no.
Nobody's
No,
requested that?
we just finished this all yesterday, so those numbers are still fresh in our mind.
We just certified yesterday. We just sent our certification in.
When you post your results, do you ever say like the absentees that come in, so many percentage were for one presidential candidate and so much percentage was for another one? Do you tease out to that detail?
No,
No.
Why not?
I don't know.
never have.
No, we've got two, we don't have that much.
I don't even know if we can easily.
Well, that's where a lot of questions of fraud is arising, is the counting of these mail-in votes that go through a machine. I've heard some things that one candidate will get like a 1.2% for each vote. Another one might get a 0.8. I know a lot of states, it's a big concern. I haven't really heard of anybody challenging in New York State, but I just wondered on the regular ballot, when people vote early or come in, do you go to that detail to say how much of a percentage, or do you have to do it? I could do it mathematically myself if I saw the results.
We can do a percentage at the end when everything's added together, but to break it out,
We have to do an audit. We did our audit. We audited 3 machines. We have to do our normal 3% audit. We did one machine of our early voting machine, and we did 2 where we do a draw for 2 of the election day machines, and all our audits come out 100%. So.
But what are you auditing?
What's that?
that the machine is counting right.
So we do our audit to make sure that our results match the tallied results from the machine. We have to do that every election.
Okay, but the papers that you feed into the machine, you don't audit those papers that feed into the machine to see.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, that's what the audit is. We have to count, we're counting the ballots, auditing all the ballots to make sure that count that we get matches the machine count.
But you don't do anything to see if like 90% of the absentees mailed in were for one candidate or another, which statistically would not be possible.
No, and I don't even know if we could find that report, a breakdown to do that report.
We just have to do a 3% audit of all the voting machines.
Thanks.
Jim?
Dave, that was a question I was going to ask, what the percentage of audit was. So thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a 3% of all the machines we roll out. We have to do a 3% audit after each election.
Thank you. Any other questions for Leslie or Jeff on the election? I want to thank you for your time on the election.
I have some information on grants that you might.
Yeah, you were next.
Okay. In the last year and a half, Board of Elections has been awarded 4 grants. They've come through the State Board of Election, they're state grants. And 2 of them were for early voting. 1 has been paid, completed, turned in, and we've gotten the reimbursement on it. The second one is in the process, and it's got to be done by the end of December and submitted to the state, and that will be done. The third grant we had was the CARES grant, which paid for the COVID and executive orders and everything that came down in the last 6 months. That has been submitted, and they told me at the state that it's been submitted from their end for reimbursement. And the last grant that we're working on here is cybersecurity, and hopefully within the next 3 months that will get cleared up and all our grants will be over and done with. speaking of that last grant, you should have a letter there from us that was informing you of the terms and the conditions for reimbursement on that grant. And that's just for your information.
Okay, we did get that. It was sent out to all the supervisors this morning. If you haven't seen it yet.
Okay. And it's just a letter informing you. We have to include that letter in the grant.
Okay.
So that's what's up with grants this year.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from Leslie or Jeff? Oh, Bob.
Yeah, for either one or both, we can come up with a pretty good cost for for each election, I think. Is there any way to break out the differential cost between what it costs us for a person coming in a regular election versus an absentee versus an early voting per vote cost?
We can figure.
Is there a way to?
We can figure out the cost of an absentee ballot, yes. Because it's 3 envelopes of ballot, the printing of the ballot, mail out, and then they put the stamp and send it back. So that's an easy cost to do.
Well, that's a materials cost. So you've got the bigger cost is handling them.
Yeah. Well, we did get some inspectors in here this year to help us get out the big, we sent like 3,000 of them out in 1 week. And we had a couple of people in here doing that with us.
Well, I was just, I think, I was just wondering if it was possible to determine how much it costs us for the, per vote for the different kinds of votes. That's what, and then would be thinking of a total cost of the county for that.
That normally comes out with our end of the year report that we do, that the state requires, and we turn into you. We also give you a copy of it.
Yeah, that's an overall.
Well, absentee, I think, is broken out in there.
Okay, I didn't remember that. Maybe it is. I'll wait and see.
Okay.
Any other questions for Leslie and Jeff? Al?
Not a question, but a statement. At the December 10th finance meeting, you may hear more about her 4th grant that she referenced, that cybersecurity grant. I've been working with Leslie and Terry McNall on maximizing that money for the county. And I think we found a way to help both Leslie and Terry and get Terry some extra money to get some things done this year to lighten the load on the budget. So that story will be continued at finance.
Okay. Sue?
I just want to thank the Board of Elections for a job well done. We went to the early voting, my husband and I. My husband is a vulnerable population, and it's very, very well done. So, of course, he was apprehensive about that. My daughter, who is a teacher and works from 7 in the morning until sometimes 9 at night, the absentee ballot allowed her to be able to vote. So there's things that are happening. I know that it was a difficult year between COVID and the election itself. It's exceptional. So thank you all. And I don't know if Tom's there, but welcome to your new role. And Leslie, thank you for all you've done, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you very much, Sue.
Thank you.
Dave, I have one more question.
Yes.
Jeff and Leslie, I have a question that a few constituents asked me about actually on election day when you voted in person at the polling station. It took about, in Hartford, it took about 1 minute per person in line, which I think is reasonable. And the reason given was because you have to go a little slower due to COVID. And when you signed the new ebooks, I had an individual little pen to sign, and they gave everyone their own individual pen so you wouldn't get contaminated by the other pens. But then when you went to the actual booth to fill out the ballot with the magic marker, that was a community magic marker in every booth, and I did not see ever any of them being changed. And quite a few people mentioned to me, well, quite a few, 3, that they thought it was kind of not really helpful that the magic marker to fill out the ballot was used by whoever came to that booth all day long.
And no one saw the person running around with the paper towel and cleaning in their hand that went and cleaned each poll site spot after they voted and wiped down the pens?
No.
Yeah, we had an inspector that did that after, was designated to do that after whenever someone got up from the thing, from the poll or privacy booth, they would go over and wipe that down and clean that area.
No, because I was waiting online outside quite a bit. I couldn't see, but by the time I was inside, it probably was 5 minutes while I could view all that. And the answer was no.
Well,
we had someone designated they were supposed to do.
And I was there and I saw our inspector with the cleaner cleaning things down. And all our bottles of disinfectant came back empty.
So, I mean,
Well, I have a different experience, but
we had people designated for that purpose.
And there was hand sanitizer for everybody?
yes. Thank you.
Okay. Leslie, thank you for all you've done over the past years and enjoy your retirement, and we'll hope to see you around once in a while.
And I thank you very much. It's been enjoyable until the last 3 months.
All right, Leslie. Al, did you have something?
Yeah, I apologize that they came in after the agenda items, Dave, but I have a couple of what will, I hope, be quick things for you. The first thing is I'll uncharacteristically share some good news with you first. We got our second Airbnb check yesterday. The total of that check was $7,313. So just to put that into perspective, the deposits for September and October are $100 more than we collected for the entire year of 2019. So I want to once again thank Mr. Scowie and Laura Oswald for not letting this go and really pushing it across the finish line, because it's obviously going to make a huge difference in our county. And I appreciate you guys getting on board with this and pushing that ball across the goal line, because obviously it's worth it. And we're going to continue to push to some of the other, we're not done yet. So stay tuned, but I want to share some good news for a change. The second thing I wanted to address very quickly is I know that the board, at least some members have contacted me. They're getting very confused about the tax sale and the auction and everything, especially when they see reports of counties around us doing something different than we're doing. My most recent phone call was that they saw the Saratoga County was having their auction and they were having it online. What I wanted to clarify for you is that auction that they were having online was for properties that they filed deed to in the fall of 2019 that were scheduled to be sold in March of 2020. So these are properties that they had already taken, and their auction that was supposed to happen in March of this year and couldn't happen because of COVID. So the significant difference there is they had already filed deed to the properties, they already owned them, and they were ready to auction. Our barment from the governor right now is that we can't even get in court to get those property taken. So I just wanted to clarify the difference between where we are and where Saratoga County is, because it's a significant difference. So I just wanted to clarify that for anybody that still had questions.
Okay.
And then the last thing I had for you was the RFP for the auditors has come in. If you want to see the results, I can share my screen. If not, it'll be attached to the minutes, and I can just share with you the dollar amounts. The lowest bidder is the auditors that we currently have, and their 2020 bid was for $45,000, and it goes up to $49,000 in 2024. Wow, thank you, Debbie. So that's the tally sheet from the RFP.
Okay.
So it would be my recommendation to accept the lowest bidder, and it's the current auditors that we're working with, doing a great job. I have no complaints with them. So if we could send that to finance, that would be fantastic.
Okay. So entertain a motion to accept the recommend the lowest bid and pass that on to finance to approvals. Lester? Do I have a second? Matt? All in favor? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried? Thank you. Anything else, Al?
That's all I have, sir.
Any other business come before the committee? I'll I'll adjourn the meeting. And I changed Sue's name so she can slip right up in here.
You can stay where she is, but whatever.
You wanna stay there, Sue, or do you wanna come up here?
I can stay here,
Okay,
if you don't mind.
don't mind. I'll sneak out of here.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Human Services meeting, and, response order at 10:50. And we have a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, going through, I saw Rob Yorkton here. Rob, are you here?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Washington County. Okay, what do you have for us?
Okay, so I have two items on the agenda. First item is a request to amend the 2020 Washington County budget to allow for payment of court-ordered psychiatric expenses. These are mandated county expense. We did budget higher for these this year. We budgeted it at 65,000. Unfortunately, in January and February, we had some people that were in the hospital that carried over from the prior year, 2019. So they were in January and half of February. So that was almost a $57,000 expense. And now later in the year, we've had another individual be hospitalized. And so we need to request this amendment. This projects the individual to remain in the hospital through December. I worked with Al on this. He suggested we go ahead and propose an amendment consistent with that projection that the individual remains in the hospital through December. So the request is for $117,413. That's what we calculated. The expense, the chargeback to the county is at $988.57 per day.
So I'll make a motion.
Sorry, who made the motion?
This is Daryl. Sorry, a bandwidth issue with video, so I'm going audio.
Thank you, Daryl. And
This is Paul, I second it.
Hi, Paul, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Matt, I missed you.
So Rob, this is an additional expense over budget, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And where's the revenue coming from to offset the additional expense we did budget for?
This is fund balance, Mr. Hicks.
General fund?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Rob?
Okay, then my other item was just informational. We have anticipated or realized that we're going to be receiving more district revenue than we had anticipated. I think we budgeted 10,000 and it's coming in approximately 15,000. Due to COVID, we had postponed any equipment purchases this year and deferred to future years. In some of my budget meetings, one of the ideas that came up was using district funds maybe to replace some equipment. Our employees are in need of laptop computers that would allow them to fully perform their work function remotely if necessary due to COVID again. So I made a proposal in Warren County to use our Warren County district funds for this purpose. And if we do that, there would be a charge through the chargeback mechanism. Washington County would also be paying a portion of those expenses. So that would be $1,854 cost to Washington County. So I would request if maybe we could use the excess Washington County district funds to cover that expense.
Thanks, Rob. Does anyone want to make that motion?
I have a question of Robert. This is Daryl Wilson.
Sure.
Robert, how many laptops are we talking about on this one?
So we're talking about purchasing 6 laptops. We have 6 employees.
Thank you.
We really only have one functional laptop, and it's aging.
So I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Daryl. I see Al's hand is up.
Go ahead and you can go ahead and take your second first, Ms. Clary, and then I'll jump in.
Okay. Jay, second. Thank you. Discussion? Al?
So Rob, if you could just send me what the total cost is, that way I can draft a budget amendment for half of that cost.
Okay, so the total cost is $3,708. I can send it to you though.
No, that's okay, I got it.
$3,708. There's 6 laptops that our quote is $618 a piece. And so then half of the 3,708 would be $1,854.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, one more discussion, Robert. Daryl Wilson again. Life cycle replacement. That's a big slug to go into the system. They'll all kind of come up at the same time.
Yeah.
You may want to look at a plan and try to offset that so that we're not biting this bullet every 4 or 5 years or whatever that plan would be.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Rob, anything else?
That's all I had. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Yes, to you all too. Thank you.
Okay, Mike Gray, do I see you here? Yeah, hi, Mike. You're muted.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. I have 2 things. The first thing, I was finally notified about approximately 2 weeks ago, the allocation for the youth development program. Those are the funds that typically fund recreation programs and community-based organizations that serve the youth in our county. So we received about a 10% cut to that, which equates to about $5,000. And the state is also going to enact a 20% withhold. So what you'll see on the contracts, I hope to get out to you next week, the allocated amounts for your towns. And you'll see one blurb in there about in the event that the state does change withhold to a cut, we'll be asking for a refund from the town or municipality for that amount out of the grant. So that's that. And like I said, the youth board will be voting on it at the end of this week. We'll get it out to you next week so you'll know what your allocations were. The second thing, part of that, in addition to that funding stream, there's the runaway homeless youth dollars that the county receives as a pass-through to the Wait House. The Wait House is located in Glens Falls, but it serves Warren, Washington County youth. And on average, every year, it serves about 40 youth from Washington County. And it's a valuable asset to have. And we serve as a service coordinator. We have to approve extended stays and some actually auditing of the program. So their funding was cut significantly down to $11,408. I'm asking that you approve that pass-through, it's state dollars, to the Way House, but also in the event that the state allocates additional money that is designated only for RHYA, I would ask permission to be able to pass that through too. So I'm just seeking resolution to be able to do that.
Does anyone want to make that motion for the White House? Don? Don, you're muted. You're making the motion?
Yes, I make the motion, move it forward.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Any discussion? Thank you. Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Pass. Go ahead, Mike.
That's all I have. I want to thank you all and hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, we're gonna go into, I see Tammy. Tammy, are you ready to do DSS?
Sorry. At some point I'll overcome these challenges. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I have a few updates to give you. Pretty much items that I spoke to last week or last month rather as well. So just letting you know where things are at this point. We had received the ability to make a plan for the use of $259,000 worth of COVID-related housing assistance money. We have filed our plan. We have made several different modifications to it at the request of the state. We think that we are very close to having final approval on that. And so then we will start then taking applications for that funding to be able to assist people in the community. We also did receive shortly after our last meeting information from the state finally asking us to submit our Code Blue budget request to them. I say finally because we had already had some Code Blue days at that point. We will be submitting that today as well. The vast majority of our Code Blue placements will be made at the Open Door Mission in their Code Blue shelter for anyone who hears references made to them. Also, recruitment through Berkshire Farms for additional foster families, and particularly looking into the respite program that I spoke about last month has also moved on. We believe that they will start producing some of the recruitment materials soon. I'm really hoping to be able to see some stuff out in the community where we're asking for people that are interested to attend our training. And I had debated on another sheet to be able to share with you with an outline of benefits, a sample household sort of situation, but I don't think I got information to Debbie in time. So I'm really just checking with Debbie to see if she and I are on the same page. Is Debbie there?
Yeah. She's looking.
Okay, I can wait until next month for that.
Oh.
It is my last thing.
Hold on. She's looking. Thanks, Tammy.
I am fine to wait. It really was just an informational, educational sort of moment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This, I wanted to present this to you. It's something I had been debating on the best way to share with you what a typical case would look like when we have somebody that's receiving benefits through our office. So we just took an imaginary single adult caregiver with 2 children in the home, took an example of if they were working 15 hours a week, working part-time, receiving child support, and had some money in a personal checking account, letting you understand that all of those things can exist and still have someone be eligible to receive temporary assistance. We gave a schematic of what average monthly expenses would look like. $650 a month for the rental plus the cost of heat and electric. If they have a car payment, we're going with a lower cost car payment of $200, insurance of $100 a month, and then cable and internet for $150 a month, phone for $45, and garbage removal for $23. So certainly one of the things that I have often heard from people in the community doubting that someone who's on temporary assistance should also have a cell phone or should have an amenity such as cable or internet. And in this day and time, particularly with COVID and all of our virtual lives being the case at this point, internet is of course crucial to the success of children being able to continue with their educational program and when they're taking virtual instruction, as well as then being able to access any other educational websites. And for people to have phones, of course, they've got to be able to be contacted, whether it's about their children or whether it is the only way that they have to reach into different websites and access things through, making an online application for something. So those are things that are pretty well required in most people's daily living. Then looking at what I've just given for information, there are exemptions from having a vehicle valued under $12,000. You can have up to $2,000 in a bank account. And then the child support is also considered in making the determination of what the benefit level would be. So with that sort of a schematic, the amount of temporary assistance cash benefit that the person would be eligible for is $444 a month. They would also be eligible for $383 in supplemental nutrition assistance program. That's SNAP, what would have in the past been referred to as food stamps. Also, during this period of time right now, and I have that as a footnote on the document, the supplemental increases are in place. That's giving everyone the maximum value. So in this situation, this person would not have received the maximum value of the benefit because they are working and have other income coming into their home. However, at this point, with the federal funding being in place, that raises that $383 up to $535. And then they would be eligible for up to $706 through HEAP, and potential also then for an emergency HEAP grant, and then potential for any daycare assistance. So taking a look at all of those things, I came up with an average monthly asset available to the parent of $1,211, and the average monthly expenses of just the things that I spoke of would be $1,168. So that leaves a balance of $43. And then the SNAP benefit, which is able to be spent strictly on food and food-like items. And it would not be able to be used for household items like toilet paper or soaps or shampoos or anything like that. And then, of course, we all know that there are lots of other costs to having a family. Could be laundry, gas, any other sort of things that pop up. So I just wanted to give that example as an informational item when people look at government providing grants and letting you understand that what is being provided is really minimal for the support of a household, and very typically does not encourage someone to stay on benefits if they don't have to. Are there any questions about that?
Tammy, I just want to bring it out to people's attention that, especially in the middle of like COVID-19, okay, so many things are not, bleach, cleaning supplies, all of those things are something that they have to pay cash for. It's not they're not provided that. And usually your food pantries, unless you really ask about it, some do, some don't. But it's a necessity right now, and hopefully all the communities will think about that as they look for the food pantries. Thank you. Thanks for
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Does anyone have any questions for Danny on this? I can't see anybody, Tammy, so it's just you and I. Okay. Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
Do
you.
have
Same to all of you.
Now we're going to go into public health. Is Patty or there's Patty. Welcome.
I just have a couple, I do have a couple of miscellaneous items, but the first item on the agenda is recognition of our most recent contribution from district funding. We received $3,064.90, and we'd like to recognize that in our budget. We have sent over the resolution data form, so it gets deposited in the appropriate areas.
Oh, I'll make the motion. Daryl here.
Thank you, Daryl. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Paul.
John? Paul? Any discussion? Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Patty?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A miscellaneous item I have is related to a request with petty cash. And this comes from back in March, Chris provided, we have a debit or a cash card, like a Visa debit card that we have been using for people that we quarantine and isolate related to COVID. When we do those quarantines, we are responsible for making sure the individuals who we are confining to their home have adequate provisions by way of medications, required medications, food, staples, things like that. And we have been using that debit card to provide for that. The way we do it is we have usually Tina, our fiscal officer, or her designee will take the debit card, secure the appropriate provisions, and then we have a book of receipts that we've kept that shows dollar by dollar, penny by penny, how that's been spent. Currently, we started with $500 in March. We're about the $130 mark balance. And we were looking at ways to continue to do that. As you know, we've seen an increase of both isolation and quarantine cases. We've had about 1,000 people move through our office in about 5 weeks now, which is a lot larger than we've seen over the entire summer. And with that comes needs for food and medicines. So we can do it. We can continue. We don't know what the feeling is related to the Visa debit card or a petty cash. Currently, we have about $175 allocated in our petty cash account. We would request that be increased up to about $400, which would, and only earmarked specifically in relation to those quarantine and isolation costs. So we can do it either way. We just want to make plans so we don't get to zero and not have a way to buy groceries for people who were quarantining to their homes.
Do we have a motion to increase the petty cash Visa card? I think to 500, is that what you're asking? Is there a resolution that's already submitted?
Well, the original one was 500. We can do it in any increments. It depends on how often we have to come back. That 500 has lasted quite several months, actually, since the beginning of the pandemic. But as we only have $130, we just want to have a means ready to go for continued needs. So it could be petty cash, or it could be securing another Visa debit card. It's whatever the board feels is most appropriate.
Oh, Patty, this is Daryl Wilson. First of all, thank you for bringing that up. I don't know. What do you think, Patty? Petty cash to me seems a little more difficult to deal with. The Visa seems a little cleaner. Is that your sensing?
It has been a very good way to do it. And like I said, we have accountings in our fiscal office for every penny. And we have the receipts and slips that shows exactly what was purchased. So it's been a very clean and relatively simple way to do it, because then, we can send other people who are designated by the fiscal officer to do that procurement.
So the Visa would be your preference?
I think, yes, that's what we're used to using. And if that's, agreeable, we would certainly like to continue to do that.
Where would the balance come from, I guess, in the current budget?
it comes out of, we get charged back for it, or I think the original one came out of the COVID
It did,
funds.
so that's where.
Yeah, Tina's here. She's telling me it came out of the original COVID funds. But
We had talked to county admin about it the other day, and Sue Clayman's concern with doing another, just so we have all the information, her concern with using another debit card was the tax, because, you know, we're not bringing a tax exempt form with us when we do that. She had said that Walmart, we have an account with them, and we could go there and do tax exempt, but it's not super convenient for us to do that because it's a little bit further away when we have Hannaford and Market 32, you know, right here. So that was her concern with doing another debit card. So I guess it's, and the other concern was, you know, if we put money on this debit card and then don't use it, you know, it just kind of sits there. Where with the petty cash, you know, it's, you know, that's what we have, and we would have the receipts for that, and it would go through audit each month to reimburse the account. So it's really, you know, either way works for us.
No, thank you for that. I was just wondering what your preference was. So, yeah, we do, and I totally understand the tax exempt piece.
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable with a debit card. Patty, it's up to you, really, from my perspective, pending any other questions from the other committee members.
thanks.
Have any questions for Patty? Al, go ahead.
Chairman Clary, if I could ask the committee's indulgence to, if you support this in theory, send it to finance and let me have some conversations with Patty and Tina, because there are some options that won't take board action, and those that do take board action won't happen until the December board meeting. So I can offer some bridge solutions between now and then. If they get to the point where they have some needs, you know what I mean? The December board meeting is 4 or 5 weeks away. And if they have needs in the interim, I have some ways to help them out. But I also have some possible strategies that might help them still stay nimble on their feet and be able to serve the COVID people. So if you believe in what they're asking for in philosophy, if you would send it to finance and give us some time to, the three of us have a conversation, and then we can bring you a more cohesive plan at finance to move to the board.
Okay,
I'll move it to finance.
Second it.
thank you, Darrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Patty.
Great,
Patty,
thank you.
I'll circle back with you and Tina, Patty.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Al. Thanks, Jay.
The final item I have is to request a backfill to go to Personnel Committee. We've had a retirement bookkeeper, and we'd like permission to backfill that. I would like to do it on a promotional basis, as we do have 2 senior account clerks that would be in that promotional line, which would then create a potential vacancy of the senior. But we would not replace the senior with a senior. We would replace that with an account clerk, setting up additional promotional opportunity in the future. So it would be a backfill, be a promotion of the bookkeeper, then a backfill of the subsequent vacancy that would create, but it would be a backfill with an account clerk versus a senior account clerk, which would require personnel or change in our rubric there that we submit. So
We
it'd be a
change the
change
staffing
in our-
pattern.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the words. No words.
We got you.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we don't need to go to personnel for this one?
Yes.
Yeah,
Move to personnel.
yeah, I've
Set.
spoken with Melissa, so.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll second that, Jay.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Patty, and did I understand that right, that you need to backfill another one? Is there two positions or just the one?
Well, it would be a total of 2 created by promotion. So it would be promoting to backfill the vacancy and then backfilling the potential, if all works well, the vacancy created by that promotion. But it would also be changing that vacancy from a senior account clerk position to an account clerk position.
So
But
it'll be
Nick,
one,
you're only gonna have one person that doesn't work for you.
Yep.
Right, Patty, Nick, you're ending up with one new person that doesn't already work for you.
That's right.
Right.
Correct. And
After the carousel stops, there'll be one person who wasn't formerly on our payroll.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
yeah, and Sue, just Daryl again. Yeah, I support that concept. In concept, that would to me be the most logical sense to do that.
Thank you, Daryl.
Barring any questions for me, that's all I have for today.
Patty, I have one thing. I want to thank your whole department, you and your whole department. Today is, I think it's appreciation for Public Health Day. And so today's your day. So I hope you get a chance to breathe a bit once in a while and tell all of your people that work with you. We couldn't be prouder of you all. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks, Patty.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Okay, so now we're going into other business. Is there, what's up, Gina on here? Hi, Gina.
Good morning.
Good morning.
At this time, I have a couple of topics that I want to bring to the committee's attention. The first topic is related to a directive that we received last week. As you know, New York State is experiencing revenue loss due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And at that point, the New York State Division of the Budget had begun withholding 20% of local aid payments. We have been held harmless up until last week. Last week, we were notified by the director of New York State Office for Aging that a 20% withhold of our claims will be moving forward starting November 1st. I'd like to share with you that since I sent the information out to the supervisors, there's been another change in that. We received this week an email that kind of contradicts some of the information that was given to us from last week. The information that we received this week was that they were going to be adjusting our allocation schedule and withholding 20% from that and paying us in full on our claims. At this time, I've reached out to New York State Office for Aging, asking for clarification, given the contradictions of the information that we received. What I am hearing, though, in both messages is that, again, that New York State Office for Aging will be putting a plan forward for a 20% withhold. At this point, I will advise the committee members of information that I receive and keep you posted on any updated information around that.
Thank you. Any questions for Dina?
Okay. The other item that I have is, as Rob York and Patty Hunt had shared, that we are also anticipating DSRIP funding. At this point, we received a letter from AHI telling us that we will be receiving $2,500 in DSRIP funds. We are working currently with the Treasurer's Office to see when we will actually receive that funding amount. And when we do verify that we are in receipt of it, we'll make a plan and I'll bring that forward to the committee. Okay, and that's all that I have at this time.
Thanks very much, Dina. Happy Thanksgiving to the family.
Happy Thanksgiving
We have
to you as well.
shawl for you, I think.
Yes, Gina, getting back to the 20% withholding, what kind of numbers are you talking? I don't know what that would be a month.
I can get that information to you. I don't have that number off the top of my head on the withhold. amount from the 20% of our allocations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Gina? Fine, then. Is there any other business that needs to come before the Human Services Board? If not, can we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Thank you. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, let's continue on. Let's call the Personnel Committee in session. Melissa, you're on with us now. I think the first item is a couple of backfills that were discussed earlier today. You want to start with those?
Yes, good morning. The first request we had was from Real Property. Laura was asking to backfill an account clerk. That person has transferred to another department and left that position vacant. So we would just like to backfill that at this time.
And you've got a list.
For account clerk, yes, we do.
Entertain a motion to backfill the account clerk. Moved by Dave. Seconded by, well, actually, Stu beat you. All right, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And then another backfill we just found out about.
Yes, the other backfill was from Public Health. Patty has requested to backfill a bookkeeper position. That position recently became vacant due to a retirement. So we'd like to backfill one bookkeeper.
Moved by Dave, seconded by Sue. Any discussion on that? Everybody clear on it? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. We got an announcement, Melissa, that Anthony White is going to retire from the probation department. So we just started a search for a new department head. Can you fill us in on the status of that at the moment?
I sure can. I don't know, do you want me to finish the staffing request first?
Well, sorry, was there another one?
There is. I'm sorry. I probably should have mentioned it when I mentioned the bookkeeper. But Patty, with the approval of filling the bookkeeper position, she would like to fill that with a senior account clerk. So if we fill the bookkeeper with a senior account clerk, we would like to backfill an account clerk, which will mean a staffing pattern change. So we'd like to add one account clerk and remove one senior account clerk from the staffing pattern.
Right, the same number of people will be there. There's just a change in status of one position.
Correct.
And that'll be a change in the staffing pattern. We'll have to go to the full board.
Yes.
Moved by Dave. Seconded by Sue. Ladies first. That's fine. That works. I was good, right? All right, discussion. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Next.
Other business, we had title by grade. It was mentioned during the finance meeting that the title by grade had grade 1 and 2 with no titles currently at those two grades. As you are all aware, the title by grade was just adopted at the last Board of Supervisor meeting. So I would like to recommend we leave it as is for now and then visit that next year before it is, next year before it's adopted again, and possibly remove a couple of the grades or lump them together so that they're not sitting there with no one in them.
You want to leave things as they are for now, but before we pass the title by grade schedule next year, we'll address title by grade level 1, which is nobody's in there and it's under the minimum wage. Title by grade 2, which is the same, and potentially grade 3 by then. But you want to leave things static currently.
I would like to. It's just a housekeeping matter more than anything else. It's not affecting anything. So yes, I would like to.
We just talked about it a couple of months ago and made the adjustment then, but we can wait, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think we need any action on that to keep things status quo, right, Roger?
No.
Okay. Okay, we're good, Melissa.
Okay. And then, yes, next, we do have two positions which are currently being advertised, the county administrator as well as the probation director, Group A. Both positions have been advertised, and we are currently accepting resumes for both of the positions. We advertised with the Times Union beginning on November 15th. And in doing so, both of the positions will be posted for 30 days on various online recruitment sites, including Monster, Indeed, Zip, Recruiter, LinkedIn, and then some other aggregator sites.
So they'll be advertised until December 15th, approximately?
Those will be online until December 15th. If you wish, we can advertise more after that. I don't know how we're doing with the county administrator applicants. As of right now, we do have one in for the probation director. So, we still have some time. We'll see where we go with that.
Okay, I think we meet on the 8th. We can get an update then, and then after the 15th is closed, we can schedule another meeting to decide if we want to continue to look or take the applicants or move along from there, correct?
Sounds good.
Anybody have any questions on those two openings? Okay. The only other thing that I asked Melissa to do is, because there were some questions last week, just give us sort of a 30,000-foot view of how vacation time works across the whole county from a policy standpoint as per the handbook.
Okay. So vacation benefits are stated in section 7.002 of the employee handbook. Eligible employees are granted vacation time based on the number of years of service. Employees become eligible for vacation leave on their anniversary date. Each year, when the employee gets to their anniversary date, any unused vacation time is lost. So it's basically a use it or lose it scenario for vacation time. There are extreme circumstances where the employee, if they were unable to use the vacation time, can request to have that vacation time carried over. And that permission can be given from the county administrator or myself as personnel officer. We have the authority to grant up to 5 days of unused vacation time to be carried over for a period not to exceed 3 months. If an employee leaves county employment, any unused vacation time is paid out to that employee. And that's whether they retire or resign. So that's the normal scenario for vacation leave, and that is stated in 7.002 of the employee handbook. We currently, with the COVID situation, there has been a change as far as allowing employees to carry over unused vacation time because they were unable to use it. So beginning in March, we have started running a report monthly. And as employees get to their anniversary dates, if they have balances that we're unable to use, we then carry over that vacation time into their current bucket. And we do that automatically. And then we send the adjustment forms to the departments so that the department head can either approve that adjustment or say, hey, that employee did have the opportunity to take the vacation time. They really shouldn't be allowed to carry that over. So that's the current process that we have going on right now. Again, that began middle of March, and we'll be, I guess, getting to that 1 year mark pretty soon as far as the carryover. And at that point, I guess we'll have to determine, or the board will have to determine if we would like to continue carrying over vacation time or if that's something you would like to stop.
And that's a COVID emergency situation, correct? That was because of the state of emergency that was put in place?
Yes, that is the reason for that.
And that's for all county employees?
That is for all county employees, yes.
The department is the one who makes the determination whether they should be extended or not.
That's
right?
correct. Yes.
Okay. I saw your hand up, Dana.
Yes, a little different question, Melissa. I know department heads can extend it, but who has the authority to tell somebody you cannot go on vacation now?
The department head always has to approve or not approve the vacation time.
Okay, so during COVID, department heads told quite a few employees they were not allowed to go on vacation?
Yes. Well, there's another extenuating circumstance during the COVID time where the directive is that you are not supposed to be able to take vacation time if you are traveling out of state.
No, my question is more basic. So the department has the authority to tell somebody your vacation request is declined.
Always, yes, during COVID time or outside of COVID time, correct.
Okay. Who has the authority to tell the department head they cannot take vacation?
I would say just the board would have that authority. I don't know that, I've never really seen that happen. Department heads don't request to take time off. I believe the normal procedure is that if a department head is going to be out for any length of time, usually we would let county administration know. But there is not a policy as far as having it approved.
Since March, have any department heads been told they could not take vacation? Even before they request it, was there a blanket statement? You cannot take vacation during this time?
I don't believe there's been that directive. I think with some of the work that we all have probably taken on during the COVID, that there's been department heads that have not been able to take time off, but I don't believe there's been any directive telling them that they can't.
Okay, during the recent Board of Supervisors meeting when we were discussing the budget, and there was also a resolution about buying back vacation time, giving bonuses, it was said that there were a lot of people who were told they could not go on vacation. So we're not talking about any department heads here. We're just talking about people under department heads.
As it applies, I'm sorry, you're saying there were people that were told they could not go on vacation?
Yes, they could not go on vacation. Therefore, there was a resolution this past Friday to buy back that vacation time they were not allowed to go on. So my question is, you answered, a department head can tell somebody within their department they cannot go on vacation. My question was, were there any department heads who felt they were told they could not take a vacation period during that time, and therefore they want that to be bought back?
I can answer that, Melissa. Yeah, because of the professionalism of our department heads that we were talking about, they didn't ask if they could take it. For example, you wouldn't expect in a pandemic, you wouldn't expect that your public health nurse in charge of public health would say, I want to take a vacation and go away for a week. I wouldn't expect that from them. So therefore, they wouldn't ask. The same with the public safety individuals. The same as that if any of us supervisors had a disaster going on in our towns, we probably wouldn't say, excuse me for a week, I want to go away. All right, so, they were not asked, they were not told because they didn't ask, because they knew that was part of their job responsibility.
So Sam, they did not request, so no department head requested.
Let me finish, please, Dana. Let me finish.
Well,
it.
you're giving a lot of hyperbole here, Sam.
No, I've got,
it's a black and white question.
Be courteous enough to let me speak, please. We've listened to you speak all throughout the day here. So where I'm going with this is that had they asked, then I would have told them no, based on what their job position was and what their duty responsibilities were.
So there is a request, Resolution 276, $75,000 to buy back vacations, and lumped into that, it was everybody, department heads, and I'm sure the $75,000, if you see how it would be allocated, goes to department heads who never requested their vacation be bought back. Did any employee request this, or is this something that you were bringing forward on their behalf?
It was something we brought forward on their behalf.
Thank you.
I shouldn't say we, I should say I.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, back to you.
Okay, Dave wanted to make a comment, unless somebody else wanted to jump in first.
So my comment is these department heads are required during emergency situations to take care of all operations. So simply by their duties alone, in emergency situations, they need to man their station, especially in public health and public safety. So I think it's important we remember that it's not whether they can ask, it's by their duties alone, especially during a plain emergency. We're still under emergency situation in Washington County. That drives the bus for all department heads. that a correct statement, Sam?
Are you asking Sam or me?
Dan, I just want to make sure that we get things clarified, because you had a valid question. You asked if any department had specifically asked to go on vacation, and it appears the answer was no. If they had asked, what would have been the response? Sam would have said, no, you can't go on vacation. Is that?
I also asked if any employee of the county asked to have their vacation bought back. And the answer Sam said was no. He brought this resolution forward on his own on their behalf, but nobody actually requested that. Am I correct in that, Sam? Okay.
That appears to be the case, yes.
Thank you.
Unmute here.
Yeah.
Oh, your question was, let me rephrase that, Dana. I do not know if any of them asked to go or not go, because I'm not their department heads. Their department heads would have had that to answer that question. So that I don't know. Did I bring it forward on behalf of the employees? Yes.
So there is no list of who asked. Is there even a list, and this might be more of the budget officer, is there even a list of how the $75,000 would have been allocated to whom?
Well, since this has been tabled, Dana, then if this ever does come up again, we will have that list for you.
Thank you.
Dave, go ahead.
I thought we referred this back to finance for the discussion.
It's been tabled, which means, Roger, it's just in purgatory and limbo right now, and until this is brought up or something similar to it is brought up, it just exists in the ether. Yeah, I've been listening. It's been 10 years. I swear to God, I listen to you.
It dies after this next meeting. I'll straighten it in.
I don't have my camera on, and I'm making a particular effort to not participate in this discussion.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, you would have been up.
I'll keep putting his hand up.
Oh, he's like that,
Save the machine.
yeah, that, disembodied sort of feet that are floating up there. Al, go ahead.
The only other thing I wanted to offer Chairman Hicks that might help Mr. Half understand some of the vacation time issue. The building closure order that was issued back in March sent employees home with pay and told us not to charge them any benefit time. So the complete time we were under the building closure order, nobody could use any benefit time, whether it be sick, vacation, personal. That was part of the building closure order. So during the building closure, they couldn't have used benefit time if they wanted to.
And now, what is that term of the building closure time, from March, whatever date was, until when?
When did we start reopening, Sam? Was it late June, early July?
Through the end of June, so probably from March till through June, about 3 months.
It's been tabled, but I would think when the building is closed is when you would want them to go on vacation.
No, that's when you want them to work from home so they get things done. Sue, go ahead.
So, Matt, the way I understand this is it was tabled unless we bring it forward and make another motion to bring it back to finance, to review it and talk about it again, because I feel like at the Board of Supervisors meeting, it seems a little complicated and people weren't quite sure exactly what we were voting on. So can we make a motion to actually untable it and bring it back to finance?
It didn't come through this committee.
Okay.
That would have to be a motion made in finance to either bring that resolution back or something similar to it in a different form. Is that reasonable, Roger?
When a motion is tabled, no matter what subject matter it covers, it lies on the table until the next regular meeting of whatever body tabled it. At the next meeting, if no action is taken, it's gone. There would have to be, or if you wanted to bring it off the table, there would be a motion to take it off the table. It would have to be made, seconded, voted on, passed, and it would come off the table and be right back where you left it when you put it on the table. Just unpause, for lack of a better term. Or various other resolutions covering the same subject could be introduced, and then that motion just not taken off the table, which we've done many times in our past history on many different subjects. To untable it?
No, if I didn't want that one at all, and we just read with the action and make the new resolution.
That process follows the same rules of the board. It either comes from an individual supervisor and is submitted to the clerk, at which time she mails it, or it comes out of a committee and they're mailed, and then if not mailed, they require the 2/3. Just, that's the normal course of business.
My intention was to have Melissa today give us an overview and not get too deep into the weeds on resolutions and stuff today, just so we all have a foundation to work with. In the event, since the previous one came out of finance, if something dealing with this issue was going to come up again, it should come out of finance. And whatever the structure of that motion is, we would all have a little more information to deal with it in the finance meeting, if everyone's amenable to that.
I believe Mr. Campbell plans on addressing it again in finance,
Okay.
my understanding.
Okay, any more questions for Melissa on that topic? Okay, Melissa, what else? Do you have any others?
I don't believe I have another other than a possible request to go into executive session.
In what regard?
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize I was bringing this forward. It is a request to discuss a union issue and employees in a union.
Collective negotiations under the Taylor Law.
Before we go ahead on that, Melissa, I was going to check with the chairman to see if there's something that you want to move at this point, Sam, or deal with it at a time when we have more information.
Melissa, what's your time frame on this? Is this something that we can get more information on first, or no?
The executive session item?
Yes.
It is an item that's being brought forward by the Public Safety Department, as well as the county administrator when he was here, to discuss employees in the UPSU union.
We have the chairman of the Public Safety Committee here. Are you comfortable with that, Supervisor Ward?
Yes.
Can I chime in here and just, Don?
Go ahead.
If we're going to have this executive session, to be perfectly candid with you, I think we should have it at your meeting, since it's a public safety issue. Right. Does that sound like a reasonable thing to do so that we can deal with it where it truly belongs as opposed to here? Would you be amenable to that, Chairman Ward?
Yes, and the more information, the better.
And I have to apologize. I was just notified, I guess, that I wasn't told that it was being held off. So yes, the request is to hold off. So thank you.
So we'll deal with it next week, Tuesday, maybe?
Tuesday.
Anything else we have, Melissa?
I do not have anything else.
Anybody else have anything to discuss at this point? In that case, personnel is adjourned. Thank you all.